In August of 1969, a woman ran onto Crosley Field and chased Red Star Pete Rose, wrapped her arms around him, and planted a kiss on his cheek. She did it on a dare by a friend who bet her $5 to do it, and on that very day, the legend of the kissing bandit Morganna was born. Born in Louisville, Kentucky, Morganna Roberts was a sports fan from a young age. Her early life, however, was not what most would consider easy. Her mother disowned Morganna while she was still a baby, which led her to be raised by her grandmother. She went to a Catholic boarding school when she was around 6 years old due to her grandmother having to work too much to take care of her. Morganna is quoted as saying, "I wasn't put in a boarding school because they wanted to give me the best. It's because nobody wanted to give me the time of day." At first, she wanted to become a nun, but she ended up running away from the boarding school when she was just 13 years old. She hitchhiked with a friend to Baltimore, where she found great difficulty being able to get a job due to being too young to get a work permit, despite begging shop owners for one. Eventually, she found a club to stay at for over 2 years until she was 15. From there, she had slept in doorways and ate out of trash cans for about a month and a half until she could apply for a work permit. After finally getting her work permit, she answered an ad to be a cigarette girl or a camera girl, but she had to be 18 in order to apply. Morganna was only 17, so she lied and said she was 18 and that she would send them a birth certificate, but she never did. In any case, she was hired and she finally had found herself a job. Shortly after, she was at Crosley Field. She recalls being with a few friends who dared her $5 to run onto the field and kiss Pete Rose on the cheek. Morganna said that it felt like all the Reds players were looking at her and her friends except for Pete, which is why they chose him. She said she remembered he was doing commercials for Ballpark Frank, so she ran up to him and said, "Pete Rose, I buy your hot dogs," and he turned to me and I remember exactly what he said, "You crazy blanking broad." But he used a big word, "Are you out of your blanking mind?" And then I gave him a kiss on the cheek and I ran off, and that was about it for that romantic moment. Evidently, Pete Rose was pretty pissed after this happened and started swearing at her. In an interview, he said, "I could just feel someone running after me, but before I could even see who it was, these arms were wrapped around me. I was ready to swing at them when I realized it's this beautiful young girl that keeps chasing me. She follows me all the way to the center field wall, and I look at her and said, 'Young lady, you're going to get in trouble for being on the field.' She looked at me and said, 'I sure in hell hope so,' so she put her arms around me and planted a kiss right on my cheek." Both Morganna and Pete's stories were a little bit different from each other, but ultimately he felt pretty bad for cursing her out, and he tracked her down that very night to the strip club that she worked at as an exotic dancer. He said that he apologized for reacting the way that he did, and he gave her a bouquet of roses. Morganna in an interview also recalled kissing Pete Rose's son, Pete Rose Jr., at a minor league game, telling him, "Tell your daddy hi and I'll try to hang in there and not get wrinkled before there's a Pete Rose III." From then on, the legend of the Kissing Bandit was born. She would not only appear at MLB games, but at NBA games, NFL games, NHL games, and even NASCAR races. Everybody loved the idea of the Kissing Bandit. Even players were in on it early on. One example was when Morganna chased after the Dodgers' Wes Parker during a game in 1970. Parker reportedly became very shy and ran away from her towards center field, but before he could even leave the infield dirt, Houston Astros third baseman Doug Grader helped Morganna chase Parker and held him down while she kissed him on the cheek. Everyone, I mean everyone, was having fun with the Kissing Bandit persona. Even the cops who were actively arresting her were enjoying apprehending her from the field. By the mid-1980s, she was already famous, becoming a household name nationwide. She wasn't just known on the field, but off the field as well. During the 1980s, she appeared 3 times in Playboy magazine in 1983, 85, and 89. Morganna, however, did have rules. She would only kiss on the cheek. She felt it was more sanitary and that she didn't want tobacco stains all over her teeth. Plus, this way their wives wouldn't get upset at her. Former Detroit Pistons player Kelly Tripucka said, "It was like hugging a mattress. When I saw her coming at me, I thought it was like a Mack truck. I had 2 options, either get hit or get out of the way. I decided to get hit." Some of her most notable victims include the NBA's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Don Mattingly, Johnny Bench, Cal Ripken Jr., George Brett twice, Len Barker, Steve Garvey, Warren Spahn, and even Nolan Ryan. Ryan famously bent down on one knee to welcome her kiss in the first inning of the Astros season opener in 1985. Ryan reportedly yelling out, "Hurry up, Morganna, the cops are right behind you." In this instance, she was arrested, charged with trespassing, and jailed. Her lawyer, Richard Haynes, said that she had no intention of trespassing, that she leaned over the railing and her chest size and gravity did the rest. He then went on to say that she panicked and ran to the pitcher, Nolan Ryan, as thousands of fans were cheering her name. She was even reported as signing autographs in the courtroom courtroom as the district attorney dropped the charges at the request of the Houston Sports Association, who ran the Astrodome at the time. By 1990, she had quite the resume, including leaping onto the fields of several All-Star games. She kissed 37 MLB players, 12 NBA players, and dozens of minor league baseball, hockey, and basketball players. However, don't think just because you weren't a player that you were safe. She also kissed managers, owners, umpires, and even the mascot, the San Diego Chicken. Her fame continued to extend beyond the field. Even after appearing on Playboy 3 times, she had her own set of bubblegum baseball cards and even became part owner of a minor league baseball team, the Utica Blue Sox. She endorsed a peanut brand called the Morganna Kissing Bandit Peanuts, who reportedly doubled their sales because of her. Additionally, she has achieved immortality. She's featured in the National Baseball Hall of Fame, where there's pictures of her kissing players. It got to the point that even minor league baseball teams were inviting her to kiss their players as a publicity stunt. Any appearance that she had consistently doubled the average attendance at these games. Some people even call her the Kim Kardashian of her time. Morganna was hired to speak at events, make personal appearances, and worked as an entertainer with a comedy and dance routine off the field. You could see her on late-night talk shows like Johnny Carson and David Letterman, and she even hosted several local TV talk shows. If that resume wasn't good enough, she was the main subject of an E60 documentary and even hosted a sports blooper tape where she ended up kissing Charles Barkley. But as we all know, all good things must come to an end. By the year 2000, she had retired from being the kissing bandit and has since lived a very quiet life with her husband, who she's been married to since she was 22. These days, she rarely grants interviews. With 37 kisses planted overall, she was arrested 19 times, stood court once where her lawyer used the gravity defense, jailed several times, and injured several times. In her kissing bandit career, she suffered a broken tailbone, 3 cracked ribs, and a cracked kneecap from security guards. Keeping a positive outlook on everything, all she had to say to that was, you know, sometimes these rent-a-cops get a little carried away. That's just part of it. That and the jail is just part of it. Earning millions from her kissing bandit fame, so most would say monetarily it worked out great for her, but beyond the money and the fame, the legend of the kissing bandit will live forever. Morganna Roberts left an undeniable mark on sports history, showcasing that fandom can take many forms. Her fearless and entertaining approach to expressing admiration for athletes continues to be remembered fondly. Today, I can say she's undoubtedly celebrated as a unique character in sports history, reminding us that the world of sports is not just about the games, but also the colorful characters who contribute to its rich stories. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe. What do you think of the kissing bandit Morganna Roberts? Sound off in the comments below. I'll catch you in the next video. Later.